Good morning, everyone. My name's Craig, and I'm definitely an alcoholic.
Craig.
If I ever thought or wondered if I'm an alcoholic or not an alcoholic, today was the day that actually decided it for me. I'm definitely an alcoholic. Coming here, I was self-obsessed, self-absorbed, everything. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, am I able to carry a message to everybody out, to anybody out here? Am I able to convey a perfect story? And that's exactly what my entire life was and has been like up until finding recovery. Everything for me had to be done to the max. I look at myself as a youngster growing up, born into a fairly normal family. Father come from a working class, my mother the same. Went to school, and where kids were normally excelling academically, I had to excel in sport. And that's where my first fix actually came in. Adrenaline, to me, was my first fix. Everything I had to do in sport, I had to do to the max. I played rugby to the best of my ability, and I excelled extremely well in it. The same as with swimming, the same as with hockey. I played hockey provincially, I played rugby provincially, and I swam as a junior Springbok in South Africa. And to me, it was a normal life at home. My mom and dad provided for us, gave us a stable living, gave us a good school to go to. But there was something that was always different about me to my brothers. I always wanted more attention than my brothers wanted. I had to have better than everybody else. I wasn't okay with my brothers. As a youngster, I bullied them. I picked on them on a regular basis. I still do that today. So, yeah, I'm not perfect, but I try to get there. But growing up to me was difficult. It was difficult because I always thought to myself that I wasn't accepted in my family. My brothers were excelling academically where I wasn't, but then again, I used to do better on sport. And for me, that was where, why am I different? Why don't I fit in with the rest of them? My mom and dad used to put me in charge of my two brothers having things done at home that had to get done. And the type of person I am, I like things to be done in a specific way, and it must be done that way, no other way. And when it wasn't done my way, I used to throw my toys out the cot. I used to fight with my brothers, and I used to create a lot of turmoil in the house. And I remember there were times when my mom and dad, especially my father, used to turn around and say to me, why can you not be like your other brothers? Why can you not be? And that was all I needed for my head to go completely alcoholic. And I realized then saying, yeah, well, you see, I'm not part of this family. I was adopted, or I was switched at birth, or something like that. And that pretty much was my story right through my teen years. I remember leaving school, and I was like super stoked. I wanted to go and study to be a chef. And at that stage, my dad had just been retrenched, and there wasn't money for me to do all those things. And my dad said, you're off to the army, you go. And I thought, well, fantastic, let's do it. And I went into the army, and I did my parabat course. And in the parabat course, I jumped out of what they call an ARCAS, and I damaged my knees, and I came back, and I thought, fantastic, I've got freedom, I can now spend my time at home and that. And my dad said, no, you're going into the police force, off you go. And I joined the police force. And going into the police force for me was amazing. And at that specific time, I was dating a girl, and she broke up with me. And basically, it tore my heart out my chest. And I wasn't okay with everything. And everybody saying, you're going to be okay. I couldn't accept it. I wasn't. My whole world had basically come to an end. And I remember going to a friend's house and saying to him, being an alcoholic and being the person that I am, I wanted attention from everybody, and I was like, I need to pour my heart out to my friend and tell him how bad my life is and how I can't live with this girl and everything. And at that point, he turned around and said, don't worry, there's something that will make you forget about that. And what was it? It was a drug, and he put it out in front of me and said to me, try it. And I tried it, and wow, what an experience. It changed my life. At that point in time, I became from a shy little person to an absolute extrovert. I was out there in front, I was the limelight of the party. I met a girl that weekend, ended up dating her for 3 months, she disappeared. But basically that's where I realized that I need something. I found that something that can fill me, that has been empty inside of me. And it slowly progressed from there. I look at the alcoholic tendencies I had when I was working in the police. I tried everything to the best of my ability. I excelled extremely well, but peer pressure got to me and I became a narcissist. I became a horrible, nasty piece of work in the police. Yeah, I had a great reputation in the sense of that if I walked into a place, I cleared it out. I managed to get everybody out safe and that. But if there was a shady deal going down, Craig was part of it. I used to get involved with syndicates, and I used to move drugs in South Africa between syndicates, supplying Hillbrow, supplying Sandton and various other places. And it's stuff that I'm not very proud of today, but it was stuff that I did, and it's stuff that actually put me to the point where I am today. I remember when they disbanded the South African Narcotics Bureau, and I was moved over to what they call the high-risk unit. I then made the choice right there and then that I'm not going to be that corrupt policeman, I'm not going to be that arsehole, I'm not going to be the womanizer, I'm going to be the perfect cop. And I put my heart and soul into it, and for 2.5 years I excelled extremely well. And then the alcoholic behavior basically took over, and what was happening is I became a Rambo. I went out there and I put other people's lives at risk, doing things that I shouldn't be doing, executing arrests of high profile cases where I should be doing it with partners. I did it by myself. And what was the nail in the coffin for me was I arrived at Big Ben taxi rank in Randburg, and there was the Northern Council Taxi Association, I think it's called. It was their boss that we were looking for, who was involved in several murders of taxi members and that. And I saw him, and I remember picking up a shotgun out of the boot of the car, running towards him. Two of his guys arrived, I hit them, and I arrested him, pulled him, put him in the car, took him to Sandton Police Station. When I got to the police station, the brigadier at the police station basically gave me the 3rd degree and said to me, how can I execute this warrant without backup? I jeopardized other people's lives and the lives of my fellow officers around me. And that's when I realized there and then that I think I'm bulletproof. I actually need to change careers. I need to get out of here. And that's basically when I decided to move. At that stage, my drinking and taking of drugs wasn't a bad problem to me as I thought it was. I was socially drinking, socially drugging with the rest of my friends. And I then started working at Bedford v Micah in a hardware store as a salesperson. And within 2 years, I was given shares in the business, and I was running the business. And I ran that business very successfully. And in that interim, and that I had got married and I had 2 beautiful daughters. I got divorced from my ex-wife and had managed to fight and get custody of my kids. And it was a fantastic ride for me to have my children, but in hindsight, I look back today, it was the biggest burden I ever did for my mother and father, because I never raised my daughters. I left that to my mother and father to do, because Craig was more important, my social life was more important, everything else was more important. On weekends when I'm supposed to be at home with my daughters, I was out partying it up with my friends and having a great time, and leaving my daughters at home for my mother and father to look after. And at the ages of 16 and 17, they decided they wanted to move to their mother, and they went across to their mom. And for me, that's where my shit started with my children, with my daughters, because then I started blaming my ex, telling her what a lazy mother she is, what an absolute crap, what a crap thing she's doing with my children, and not actually looking at the fact that she's doing the best that she possibly can do with what she has. And you know, today I look at my 2 daughters; they've grown up to be 2 beautiful, responsible adults, and I cannot take any credit for it, because it was my mother and father that did all of that, and it was their mother that did all of that. Going back to Bedford v Micah, I ran the business and basically did everything to the best of my ability there as well, and that became my next fix, was work. I literally got up at 4:30 in the morning, I was at shop at 5 o'clock, got home at 7 o'clock at night, and The relationship with my family dwindled, the relationship with my children had dwindled, the relationship with my ex had dwindled, and I was blaming them, saying to them it's all their fault. Not being able to look at myself and see that currently everything in my life is evolving around my business and what I'm trying to achieve in my business. I was earning a good amount of money at the end of the day. I had a house, I had a boat, I had jet skis, I had everything that I could possibly want. And why is everybody so unhappy? Why is everybody, I'm giving you everything I possibly can, but I'm not giving them the one thing that they all wanted, and that was just for me to be around, just for me to be there, to be able to talk to them. And I wasn't. And that's why I look back to that's all in hindsight. And that was all great, and then I made a bad business decision and sold the business, and I got screwed out of it, and I lost absolutely everything. And that's where my life took the biggest turn, and that's where my addiction, my alcoholism, really took me out. And that was I would say a good 12, 13 years ago. And I then started drinking excessively, started drugging excessively, and I didn't actually care who I was damaging or taking out in that process. I then tried on several accounts to try and get sober by myself, changing obviously brand of alcohol, changing type of drug, deciding that I'd only drink on a Monday, Wednesday and a Friday, and take drugs only on a Saturday. That never happened. It was Monday through to Sunday. And then there was a stage where I was threatened by my father that I would be thrown out of the family. I wouldn't have any responsibility towards my children. He'll make sure that all of them will be taken away from me. And I came clean for about 18 months. I wouldn't say come clean, but I white-knuckled it. And things got better, and I managed to get myself into a job and that, and everything was fantastic. And I remember I had a massive fight with my boss on the Thursday, and I walked out of the office at 12 o'clock, and I went past the bottle store and I picked up a bottle of vodka and I went home. Sorry, alcohol. And went home, and I got totally tanked. And at 10:30 on Friday morning, my father had phoned me and tried to get me awake. I managed to pick up the phone. You're supposed to be at work, everybody's looking for you. Why aren't you at work? And I was like, okay, I'm on my way, I'm sorry, I overslept. Got to work and I got grilled again by my boss, and same behavior. I literally, well, cheers, goodbye, I'm out of here. Picked up a bottle at the bottle store and went home. 11:30 on Saturday morning, my ex arrived at the house with my children. It was supposed to be my weekend with the kids. And she walked in there with 3 bottles of vodka lying on the table, and I can only account for one. I don't know what happened and how I managed to get 2 extra bottles into me, but I'd finished 3 bottles that night. And it was the first time that I'd realized then that I have a problem. I need help. I need to go to some place or some institution to get myself sorted out. And I went to my mom and dad and my work, and I said, listen, I need help. And at that point in time, I thought I was doing it because I genuinely need help, but I look at it today, I did it to get the heat off me. I did it to get the attention off me. It's like, it's not me, it's the alcohol and the drugs that's a problem. I need to go to the institution. People feel sorry for me. I'll be okay. When I get out, I can carry on quietly on the side and do what I need to do. And I went into a treatment center, and I was there for 28 days, and I came out, and a week later I was back into the same old routine of Craig abusing people, Craig doing what he wants to do, drinking, drugging, carrying on like an absolute hooligan. And that basically went on for quite some time. And in the interim, I had met another woman, Michelle, and we had 2 beautiful sons together. And I thought that this was the picture perfect girl for me. My mom and dad are going to be extremely happy. Everybody will be okay, and she became a fix, and my drinking basically had subsided a bit and everything. And that carried on for a while, and the drinking picked up and the drugging had picked up, and the abuse had basically continued. And I basically said it was her abusing me, but in turn it was me abusing her, because I came home inebriated. I wasn't able to pay attention to my duties at home as a husband. I wasn't able to be there in person. I was there just physically, but I was somewhere else. And that took the toll, and eventually 3-4 years ago we broke up, and I blamed her for a lot of things in my life. that had happened, trying to take my sons away, etc., etc. And it really impacted negatively on me. And what had happened after that is I then got involved in another business, and I went down to Longabon, and I got involved in building lofts in houses. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was something that to me has been a dream and a passion, and I wanted to get involved in the construction industry, and I did. And it was an absolute amazing time for me. And somewhere along that whole trip, my partner that I got involved with decided to get involved with somebody else, another partner in the business. I thought he was trying to work me out and get me out of the partnership, and it wasn't. He was just trying to get somebody else involved in the business as well to bring more capital in. And I then decided to pick up a bottle and carry on drinking, and which I did. And I literally, in that short space, in the space of 6 weeks, I went from a straight A guy to an abusive, nasty piece of shit that drank from 2 o'clock in the morning till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And the only reason I stopped at that time is because I passed out. I literally couldn't stand it and talk. I wasn't part of company. I literally had passed out. And waking up at 2 in the morning for having to look for a bottle and that. And my head went totally south, and I thought that I was being worked out of this company. And I remember coming back to Joburg, having a massive fight with him, and that realizing that I'd lost the business. I'd lost everything that I'd worked for. And I came back to Joburg to tell my mom and dad that this is what I did. And walking into the house, and my mom and dad showering me with love and fantastic, and you're doing so well, and how am I supposed to tell these people that I've actually just fucked everything up that I've built? And I couldn't. And I remember spending 3 days there talking to my mother and father and lying to them and bullshitting them about how fantastic my life is in Longabon and how well I'm doing, and absolutely lying to them about everything that has been happening over the last couple of weeks in my life. I haven't been fantastic. I haven't been present on site. When I'm on site, I'm swearing at the staff, hitting them with the 2x4s, taking one guy, driving him into Cape Town, dropping him off at the bus stop and telling him to find his own way back to Joburg. That was the person I was, inactive. That's the person I still am today, funny enough. The only difference is I'm aware of it. And I look at it, I sat there telling my mom and dad, and the Wednesday morning my dad said to me, you need to be, what time does your flight leave? I said 10 o'clock. He said, okay, I'll have you at the airport at 8. And he dropped me off at the airport, and I turned my phone off, and I walked away from that airport knowing that I was walking away from my family forever. I knew I couldn't turn back and go there because I'm disappointed. I'm a rubbish. How can my family love somebody that can't even tell them when he's made a mistake, and who actually doesn't care about them, because that's exactly how I treated them. And for 3 months, I disappeared. I bounced between friends, and I milked each single one of them. I used them to the best of my ability. And the moment that a friend caught wind that I was doing it, I was kicked out and I moved to the next one. And when that happened, I was kicked out and moved to the next one. And the last month of my life, I lived in a mine shaft in Boksburg. And I remember waking up one morning, and I decided it's time to go to Durban. I've had enough of Joburg. It's cold, it's horrible, it's nasty. I'm going to leave. And I came up to Durban, and I was walking, and on my way there, I bought drugs and alcohol, and I was drinking. And for 3 days, I walked, and I got to the Hoek Toll Plaza after the 3rd day. I ran out of drugs, I ran out of alcohol, and I had no money in my wallet, and I had to pay to get through the toll gate. And that's what my head was telling me. It was, Craig, you need to pay to get through here. And I'm like, I don't have money, I can't pay. And I still today don't understand why nobody picked me up. I just know that something or somebody upstairs there was looking out for me, because when I got to that toll gate, my head said, I can't go through this toll gate. There's no money to pay to go through. Little did I know at that stage, I don't have to, I'm not a vehicle. I can walk through the toll gate. I turned around and I started walking back to Joburg. And there's one friend that I know that irrespective of what I do or how I do things, he'd always be there for me. And I took my phone out, and for the first time in 3 months, I turned my phone on to phone this friend of mine. And as I turned the phone on, within 30 seconds, my middle brother, John, phoned me. And the words for him are you okay, my boy? Everybody's looking for you. Where are you? What is it that you need? What? And I broke. Literally everything around me collapsed. Only way I can explain the feeling that I had was the second episode of Ghost Rider. There was a guy that the moment he touched him, everything went dark. And that I realized was what my life has been like for the last 40 years, is that I'm this person in this dark environment. I'm all alone, and I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do, how to get out of it. And my brother said, "Where are you?" And I said to him, "I'm on the road." And he said to me, "Send me your PIN location. I'm sending somebody to pick you up." And an hour later, my youngest little brother arrived to fetch me. And they took me to the farm, and locked me up on the farm for a couple of days to clear up. And then took me to Bradley Webster. And this is where my whole journey started, was at Bradley Webster, somebody that I think Caleb was sponsored to. And he said to me, he's got the perfect place for me to sort my life out. And at that stage, I was like, I'm prepared to do absolutely anything. I can't carry on. This life that I've been living is not a life. It's torture. It's absolute torture. There's nothing worse I've ever experienced in my life than what I was currently going through. And all I wanted was either death or to stop it. And right at that point in time, death was the only option that I thought was available. And the Tuesday morning, my brothers basically picked me up and said to me, "Come." They took me to an airport, and they said, "Get on the flight, we'll see you when we see you. Goodbye, Craig." And off you go. We don't want to know you. And I climbed on the aeroplane, and I landed at Ushaka Airport, and I got picked up in the little Yaris with big old Steve. And I looked at the Steve character, and I was like, "Oh shit. They sent my bound son to fetch me." And driving down, and it was an absolutely beautiful drive until I saw the Dudu sign. And we were going through this township area and poverty-stricken area, and I thought, I can't believe my brothers have done this to me. They're locking me up in a shack. I'm going to be locked up in a shack. And as we came around the corner, I saw Cedars, and we arrived at Cedars and walked in. And I remember walking up the stairs and everybody greeting me, and the atmosphere there was just something so different that I've never experienced. That there was peace and serenity that I picked up at the treatment center. There was just absolute peace and serenity, and I remember feeling so welcome walking in and doing my papers and that. And the first thing that went through my mind is, how am I going to fit in? What am I going to do to fit in? I've got to be cool. I've got to check this out. I'll chat to him. There's a leader of the group. I know I need to get in with this. Is my whole mind already starting to work alcoholic style? I've got to now try and manipulate and squeeze in to make sure that everything happens. And I would say the first month or two, pretty okay. I got concerned because I was faulty as anything. I arrived there trying to pick up anything with a skirt. Guys out there that if you're new in the treatment centre, doesn't work, but those are sharper than you think they are. And I remember the first concern group sitting down, and I made a comment to one of the ladies about her hair that she had, and it was brought to my attention that I'm a creepy old man. And at that stage I thought, you know what, it's okay, I just have to stop drinking and to stop doing drugs, and that's fine, I'll be okay, I'll be able to get through this. And my mindset was that I'm going to stop drinking, stop doing drugs, and I'll get through this. And I basically flew under the radar for quite some time after that. And Then all of a sudden the wheels fell off, and I got involved in a relationship inside the treatment center. And I didn't take the relationship very far, and I thought, I'm doing the good thing. I'm going to go and expose this before it goes any further. And I'm going to do the right thing. And I remember going to one of the counselors and saying, this lady and I have feelings for each other, and before it gets out of hand, I need to tell you this, and I need to expose this. And I remember sitting in concern group and having my ass handed to me right royally about what a dickhead, and how can I do this, and how can I say what I said, and I'm just trying to expose this so I can get out of trouble and that. And I was under the impression I was right, 100% right. Everybody else was wrong. I remember sitting inside after the concern group. Caleb called me in and sat me down and said to me, do you know where you went wrong, what your mistake was? And I was like, no, I can't. I'm right. I exposed everything. What have I done wrong? Why didn't you expose this to me when you realized you had feelings? And that's when I realized that from that point on, when I never exposed that, everything that happened thereafter was my fault. And at that point, it's where a lot of change happened for me in my life, because the door opened to my entire past for me. And that's where I realized that a lot of things that I've done in my past, because of a decision I made very early on, everything that has happened thereafter is my fault. I look at my ex, something that happened when we went out to Radizio's one night, and we were having a party and enjoying myself with my children and her, and there was a group of guys she had been at school with, and this was fairly on in our relationship, and she had been at school with, and she'd said to them, you know, she's with me and that, and they said, well, sit and talk to her. And at 10 o'clock I said, time to go home. The kids have eaten, I've eaten, you know, let's go home and that. And she said, no, she wants to spend time with these guys. They're friends of hers from school. She'll come home later. And I'm like, no, that's not, but I'm a people pleaser. So I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. I'm going to allow it, and it's not, it's okay. I'm okay with it. Meanwhile, inside, I'm like, you stupid arsehole, Craig, how can you say this? And I went home and I took my kids, and I went home, and she arrived home at 4 o'clock in the morning from joining with these guys. And that's not okay. But I persuaded myself that that was okay. And I realized from that point on, everything that happened bad in my relationship with her was my fault. Absolutely everything. Because at that point is when I should have turned around and said, it's over, goodbye. Not interested. You're not the right person for me. And I look back at my career in the police, the moment I was persuaded to take 2,000 Rand from my partner to turn my eye on a search and seizure that we did on a house. Everything thereafter that happened to me in the police force was my fault, because that's when I knew I had to change and I had to get out. And everything that happened to me after that was bad. And it was my fault. I look at the decision I made in Longabawn. The moment I realized that I was involved with a guy that was shady. I've known him since I was 18 years old, and he'd done pretty shady things in the past. And going into business with him, it's my fault, because I made that decision, and I look at him and I see that I know that he's shady, so everything that he's going to do is shady, so whatever happens thereafter is my fault. I can't blame him for it. And that's pretty much where my journey changed for me, was that specific concern group at Cedars. But the one thing that I didn't realize then is that drugs and alcohol were not my problem. I was still adamant that that was my problem. And thereafter, I think every single concern group was about me. And it just got to a point where, sitting in the back office, and I was in a state, I was all over the place. I didn't know what the hell was going on with my life. And I remember sitting in the kitchen, and I'd exposed pretty much everything that had happened. But typical addict, there's certain things I'm going to hold to myself. I'm not going to put that out there. And John walked in to the kitchen, and he looked at me and he said, "You're not okay, Craig. You're not okay." And I said to him, "I'm fine, everything's okay." And he said, no, you're not. There's something you're not telling people. There's something. And I was like, I have told him. And he said to me, just tell me what's going on. And I basically turned around and said to him that I kissed this girl and this is what had happened, etc., etc. And I hadn't exposed that to my sponsor. And at that point he was like, you need to. And he persuaded me to go to Caleb and say to Caleb, this is what had happened. This is exactly what had happened. Little did I know at that point is where Jean actually saved my life, because that's when I realized that dishonesty is not okay. And I need to be honest about everything to my sponsor. It's not just disclose a little bit of this, I need to disclose absolutely everything to him. And I went to Caleb and sat down with him and exposed what had happened to him, what had happened to me and what I had done. And it didn't go that great as what I expected, but it was okay. I walked out of there realizing that, that it's my fault, everything I've done, it's all upon me. I need to now take responsibility for it. And about 3 concern groups later, I think it was Josh that asked several members of the house to ask Craig about what he thought of. It was specific, it was something that I'd done, or what the interpretation of. And I remember it was to do with a girl, and I remember speaking to Raim and to various other members about it in the house, and this came for me in concern group, and I was trying to save face. And I remember after the concern group sitting with Caleb again and saying, but why is this coming for me? Why is this specific? And Caleb turned around and said to me, you've taught us that. This is what you've taught us. You taught us that you are dodgy around women. You taught us that your mouth is your problem. We're judging you on what you've taught us. And that's where I realized that I have to change me. It's not drugs and alcohol that's the problem. It's Craig that's the problem. And Craig has to start changing his behavior around people. And a lot of things started changing for me there. I then started realizing that people pleasing to me was one of my biggest downfalls. I did a lot of things at the halfway house, not at the halfway house, at the house on the hill to please people, to let them see the shiny side of Craig in it, and not showing them who the true Craig is at the end of the day. And that all changed for me, and I started doing things because I want to do things, and I started getting involved in a lot of activities around people, helping people through the house. And through those actions, it has become a habit for me now in my life, starting from there, that even today in the halfway house, I try and help out as much as I can with everybody else around me, because I've realized something, that it's not about me, it's about everybody else around me, and that I need everybody else in this room here for me to get better. I can't do this alone. I've tried it for 46 years and I've fallen flat on my face every single time I've tried it. And leaving the halfway house, leaving the house on the hill and going to the halfway house was excruciatingly painful for me. In the sense that I had a whole support structure at Cedars, and I'm leaving to a halfway house where I don't have as great a support structure, and I don't like change. I really don't like it. And I arrived at the halfway house with a bundle of nerves, and I had all this preconceived misconceptions about what is going to happen and what was going down and what people are all about. And I walked into open arms. I walked into a bunch of guys in the halfway house that just made me feel so relaxed and so welcome and so warm, and that exactly the same feeling that I had when I arrived at Cedars. And to me, that to me was like an eye-opener for me, because I realized that I'm not normal. I'm not like the rest of the people out there. I am an alcoholic. I am an addict, and I need fellow addicts and alcoholics to help me live, because I can't do it on my own. And the last 4 months at the halfway house have been an absolute marvelous journey for me. It's been extremely difficult, but marvelous journey for me, because everything to me at the halfway house is about action. It's not about words, not what I say, it's what I do. I remember the first 2 months there, I managed to get work, and I was working for another fellow addict, alcoholic. And then I was working, then I wasn't, and I was putting in all the action to try and find work, and I got to a point where I had reached the end of my tether. Enough is enough, I want out. And I remember saying to Caleb, I don't know what to do. If I don't get work by the end of this month, I'm out of here, I'm back up in Joburg. And I know going to Joburg, I'm dead. I don't know what to do. And it's funny enough, it was at that exact same point where everything changed for me work-wise. And I managed to land the job that I'd been dying to have ever since I arrived at the halfway house, and that was to work for R&M Construction. And I'm doing the work that I love most. That's building. And I'm not just building houses, I'm building people's dreams. And that's what I see today. I see things differently. I see things through beautiful eyes for a change. Just this week, my mother and father my dad has been battling financially for some time, and he saved another man's business, and they basically given my dad a CEO position in the company, and they moved through to White River. And 40 odd years ago, my dad and my mother's journey started in White River. My brothers were conceived there. And they're back where they started. Now, in active, I wouldn't have been able to see that. Today I see that, and it's the most beautiful feeling to see my mom and dad at that point in their life, to see them, that they're happy again, that they are in a place where they started their journey and they've always wanted to end their journey, and they're back there. And they're not worrying about me anymore. I mean, I phoned my mother and father to say I'm coming up on the 1st and 2nd to Joburg to come, and my best friend's getting married, and they want to be there for his wedding. And I'm coming to visit you, and they're saying, no, we're in the game reserve on the 2nd, but by the way, the keys to the house are here, you can stay there. My mom and dad would never, ever give me the keys to the house, ever. Not even as a youngster. There was always a babysitter or somebody else. That's changed for me. My mom and dad now do those things for me. My dad has basically said they're keeping the house in Joburg, and whenever I want to come up, it's available for me to live in while they're staying in White River. And those are things that I've received in recovery. Those are the gifts that I've received. My relationship with my mother and father is, I cannot explain it to you. It is something that is so beautiful that if I don't phone my mom and dad in the morning or speak to them, I get a phone call asking me, am I okay? Whereas in the past, that never happened. My youngest brother is on WhatsApp and talking to me. My daughters are talking to me. My sons are talking to me. Funny enough, my ex is talking to me. And my middle brother, John, we have a relationship that's at a distance, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the fact that that relationship is going to take time to mend. I'm okay with the fact that I've caused him to look at me through the eyes that he sees me at. And it's me that has taught him to put that distance between us, because all he's doing is protecting himself and protecting his family at the end of the day. And it's going to take time for me to get to that point where he'll accept me as that brother that I want to be. I'd like to have that relationship I have with my youngest brother, to be the same. But I understand that's going to take time. And as long as I keep doing what I've been doing for the last 365 days of my life, I'll be okay today and I'll be okay tomorrow. And as long as I keep doing that, I know that somewhere in my future, that relationship will come closer together. And it is something I look forward to, because I see the fruits of the relationships I have with my younger brother, my mother and father are unbelievable. And then the relationships I have with people in the fellowship at the moment are real relationships. They are relationships based on trust and honesty. When I'm acting out and I'm an absolute dick, I've got people in the fellowship that call me out on it and tell me that, Craig, you're not okay. There are things that you're doing that are not okay. And I know I give you the same answer every time, I'm fine. But I'm not. Even today, I'm not okay. The faulty behavior that I do and the things that I do, I'm still old Craig. I'm still that oak that can be a womanizer. I'm still the guy that can be an absolute dick and take you outside and swear you into the ground and steal your money and do all sorts of horrible, cruel things to you. That's who I really am. But I'm aware of it now. I'm aware that those things are who I really am. And I'm okay with that person. I know he's an absolute arsehole, but the person that I am today is far better than him. And I see him today as well. And there are times I wake up in the morning and that nastiness and that old Craig does venture out, and he does come and play with people. And I look at it. There are times where I'm not aware of the way I am around my friends in the halfway house. I'm a morning person. Most of the people in the halfway house aren't, and I try and force that upon them, and that's just not okay. I have like Jean calling me out of my shit and saying to me, please don't tickle me so early in the morning. I don't like it to get woken up to people tickling me. But I've become aware of it. And the moment I get told, listen, I'm sorry, I don't like what you're doing, I actually stop. I actually step back and say, okay, I need to stop. And that awareness is what saved my life, is the fact that I'm now aware of who I am and that I'm not okay. But the fact that I'm not okay is okay with me. And the fact that everybody in this room here is not okay is okay with me as well. And I owe my recovery, not to me, I owe my recovery to every single person in this room, because without you guys here, I cannot be where I am today. There is no ways possible that I could have achieved what I have up until today, because every single place that I've stumbled and I've fallen, there's been a set of hands there to catch me. And it's this fellowship's hands that have managed to pick me up and build me to the person that I am today. And that realization for me has been something that I will carry on for the rest of my life, because I know that God currently is doing for me what I cannot do for myself, because I've tried this for 46 years and I haven't been able to get it right until now. And I know that my path is filled with a lot of challenges and a lot of problems that are still going to come my way. And there are other members of this fellowship who have experienced those problems who are going to be able to guide me. And I've learned to take my ego and my pride and put it in my pocket and say to guys, I don't know how to do this, please help me. And it's every single time that I've gone and made and exposed myself for who I am and said, I don't know what I'm doing, is where the changes happen in my life, and it's where I get my best growth from. So just for today and for the rest of my life, I'm going to expose myself for who I am, and that's a shy little kid that doesn't know what the fuck I'm doing. Thanks for sharing.